Hey everyone, welcome to another lecture on Coach's Corner University. We are today going to talk about weighted vest usage and weight loss. Does using a weighted vest help you lose weight? Now, we're going to go and discuss, the premise and assumptions associated with this question. We're going to look at a bunch of research on the topic and what might be some practical applications for using a weighted vest. So, when we look at, weighted vest usage, it's a very simple question. We're going to say, okay, if we're going to make the body heavier, we're inherently going to make the exercise harder. So we're overloading the walking or the movement. We know the benefits of NEAT and how we can increase energy expenditure through non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And we have a fantastic lecture on NEAT. If you just search NEAT in the search bar, top left of Coach's Corner Coaching Foundations, you can find that lecture. And we're going to look at seeing if the increased difficulty of movement will increase the caloric expenditure of the activity and thus lead us to greater weight and fat loss. So will the additional calorie burn be significant enough to significantly impact fat loss? What load is going to be required in order to have a significant impact? And what would be the minimum threshold for duration to see a benefit? And ultimately, is it all worth it? Okay. So do weighted vests really work? So Hall 2022 looked at 2.5 miles per hour on a treadmill, 4 inclines and 3 conditions. So no vest, 10% body weight and 15% body weight. So for example, me at 245 pounds, this would be the difference between a 25-pound vest and a 50-pound vest. So quite significant amount of weight. But the results were really insignificant. 5.7 calories per minute with body weight, just walking body weight, or 6.3 calories per minute at 15% load. So in a 45-minute walk, that's only an additional 27 calories at 15%, or just 18 calories at 10%. So putting a 50-pound weight vest on is only going to increase my calorie burn for that 45-minute walk by 27 calories. Subjects only wore the vest for the periods of walking. So my question here is, when I'm reading the study, is would these increased expenditures carry over to everyday life and activities? What if you wore the vest all day long? Like 50 pounds on your body all day, that has to have some sort of meaningful impact. So the conclusions here is yeah, there was a difference, but the difference in calorie burn is negligible and not likely to impact fat loss in isolation. Okay, so just doing your cardio with a weighted vest on probably isn't going to benefit you in terms of fat loss. Then the additional load on the body and subsequent impact could potentially increase fatigue accumulation of the activity and impair performance. Maybe, but if you're only burning an extra 27 calories, I doubt you're going to actually impact your recovery with that little bit of overload. Some limitations here as well to consider. We need to consider that we're humans and that you're probably a lazy person. So if I put 50 pounds on your body, you're probably going to walk a little bit slower. We have to remember this study was done on a treadmill. Exercise activity thermogenesis only counts for about 5% of total daily energy expenditure. So we're only working with a 5% margin. Like increasing that to a small degree isn't going to have a meaningful effect on your total daily energy expenditure. And that's why I asked the question of what if, because NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, accounts for 70% of total daily energy expenditure. So what if I could increase that 70% by wearing the weighted vest all day? So Olson looked at, well, does it work that way? And so he looked at obese adults and used an 11% vest load or a 1% vest load. So again, me at 245 pounds, about 27 pounds or 2.5 pounds. 8 hours per day was the goal, 3 weeks long. Body weight was measured at baseline and at 3 weeks. There was a rat study done similar to this study where they coined the term gravitostat. Essentially, as they increased the external load on the rat's body weight decreased in relation to that external load. So essentially, the question of can we artificially increase body weight to decrease actual body weight? So some sort of compensatory effect When we increase load, we decrease body weight. Well, the results were that the 11% load lost more weight and fat mass in the 1% group after 3 weeks. There's a 1.37% difference. So this study concluded that gravitostat is a real concept and is also seen in humans. But 1.37% is not very much. And there was also there was an increase in fat-free mass, meaning that there was a body composition shift. So we actually decreased body weight by 1.37% more, but we increased fat-free mass, which is bone mass and muscle mass and water, in that study. So this study, which is the most recent study reviewed within this model, actually showed that we can have muscle mass to like a body composition shift or recompositioning of the body by using a weighted vest during exercise, or actually during NEAT. So only wearing the vest during the day. Other studies prior to this never were able to show these results. So we have to take it with a grain of salt. Nicholas et al. Did a 5-month study with and without dietary intervention. So obese elderly adults, vest wearing was increased weekly up to 10 hours a day. So previous study, the goal was 8 hours a day. And they compared a diet-only group to a diet and vest use. So this is no exercise intervention. This is just vest use during the day. The weight vest was increased weekly with an average of 3% body weight. So not a very heavy vest. They found no difference between groups on any measures. Both groups lost significant fat mass, lean mass, and percent body weight. The changes in physical function did not differ between groups, which means that wearing the vest provided no real training effect. So the question of, would it cause some sort of adaptation or would it be too hard and affect your recovery? The answer is probably no in that regard. And then therefore there's no additional fatigue accumulation. Muscle strength did decrease in diet, but it didn't decrease in diet in the vest group. So even though muscle mass came down, muscle strength stayed up, and there was no decrease in strength in the diet and vest group. That could simply be to the increased activity associated with wearing the vest, or it could be due to the vest preventing us from losing strength as we diet down. Keeping in mind, these are obese but elderly adults. So these are people who are 70 years or older. The graded nature of the study perhaps allowed some sort of acclimatization to the intervention or some sort of adaptation to the weight. The weight also was only half as heavy on average as the Olson study at its peak. So it only came up to 6%. Subject lost muscle mass, but not strength. So potentially for elderly adults, there's a benefit to wearing the vest if you want to maintain some level of physical function. Well, okay, so there's a possibility here, but could this, actually lead to muscle retention? Again, Normandin 2018, with older adults, we need to mitigate sarcopenia, especially with weight loss. So when older adults in general are losing muscle mass year over year. And if they try to go through a weight loss phase, because they're in a caloric deficit, they'll have lower protein turnovers and they'll actually lose muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia or age-related muscle loss. What if a weighted vest could mitigate that and help people lose weight along with it? It's never been looked at. Okay. Daily weighted vest use during a dietary and weight loss intervention, 22 weeks of behavioral diet intervention with a goal of 10% body weight loss. So 1,100 to 1,300 calories per day diet with and without the vest. And the vest goal was 10 hours per day, same as the previous study. On average, vest use was about 7 hours plus or minus 2. And 6 out of the 27 people had issues with vest use because of pain or soreness. So that is a limitation, right? So if the vest is causing you pain and soreness, it's not a good intervention for you. Both groups lost a similar amount of weight, and there was no difference in fat mass, lean mass, or body fat percentage between groups. But again, same result as the previous study, the diet-only group lost more strength than the vest-wearing group. So no significant effect on the vest on outcome except strength. So this study backs up the previous study. 2017, Keller Um, weighted vest increase strength and or helps to retain it, as we've come to see. But could they prevent or improve bone loss during weight loss? Remember, as we age, we do lose bone. That's why there's issues like osteoporosis or osteopenia. So, what if wearing a vest and putting more mechanical stress on the skeleton could prevent bone loss as we lose body fat in old age? Well, so we looked at elderly obese patients, diet, and then a diet and vest group, 22-week study. So very long study again. Weight loss was significant for both groups, but no difference. Same average vest time as the previous study, so about 7 hours plus or minus 2. The bone loss was greater in the diet group. So there's a rationale here. Bone turnover was increased in the diet and vest group. So there was more bone reformation versus resorption, although the differences were not very significant. So there may be an effect, although small, on the bone loss associated with diet and weight loss in older adults. So the vest could potentially have a benefit here. But there's obviously effects, but they don't seem to be earth-shattering. And this is like my ongoing question when I was doing this research, is like, it makes a difference, but how big of a difference? And is that juice worth the squeeze, right? Now, the practical application here, I mean, the results are quite underwhelming, if I'm being honest. Yeah, weighted vests are going to increase the metabolic cost of the activity. They're going to improve strength retention in elderly adults during weight loss as compared to dieting alone. They may improve bone mass retention when dieting in elderly adults, but not much. And we never actually controlled for exercise alone without the vest. They also don't do a few things. They don't provide a significant increase in calorie burn as compared to exercise alone. They don't provide better weight loss outcomes than with dieting alone. So the take home here, in my opinion, is that they're overrated. Given the information we have, it's way easier to get people to exercise and to diet than to have them wear a vest, right? The vest is annoying. You can't wear it out in public. You're not going to go to the office in a weighted vest. That psychological friction would negate any benefits, in my opinion. The meathead in me still has other questions. Like, what if we used a really heavy vest, like 50% body weight? I think it would become very cumbersome, and I think that would be the limitation. But I would just want to know. I would just want to know, just for curiosity purposes. And what about really high step counts with wearing the vest? Like 15,000 steps a day while wearing the vest. 15,000 steps a day, that would be an hour and 10,000 steps, 15,000 steps would be 150 minutes of walking, be like 2.5 hours of walking. That'd be a pretty significant amount of calorie difference when we return to that previous study of 45-minute walk, 30 calories burned. So let's put that at 40 calories or 35 calories per hour. And we're looking at an hour and a half. It's about 120 extra calories for a day. I think over time that would add up, especially when we look at the combined effects of diet and exercise put together. Every little bit counts. So just thinking out loud here, are you going to wear a weighted vest? I probably won't, unless I'm trying to look badass when I walk through my neighborhood. But in other cases, I'll probably just leave it at home and probably sell it on Facebook Marketplace because I don't really have any use for it anymore. I hope that was interesting to you. I'm really looking forward to diving into some more topics. The next one is going to be whether diet breaks are worthwhile or not. We'll talk to you then. If you have any questions, hop into the Coach's Corner community, and I'd be happy to discuss them with you. We'll chat soon.